All right, it's Tuesday, and we're talking Lions defense again. I know we've been kind of picking on them lately, and so have a few other channels. But look, it's the topic of the town right now. But today I'm coming at you with a little bit different perspective about the defensive penalties and how they're hurting this Lions team, and how it's definitely going to hurt this team if they continue, especially when we move into the playoffs where we're playing much better quality players, much better coach teams, and they're going to be ready to play. So more specifically, what I'm talking about is the 56 defensive penalties that the Lions have created this season, and 27 of those have given first downs to the opponent. I don't think that I need to drill it into your heads that whenever you're not getting off the field, the defense, and you're allowing the opponent to have a fresh set of downs, well, that does a few things. One, your defense is out there much longer than it needs to be. They get more tired. Two, the offense doesn't get more opportunities or a quicker opportunity to get back onto the field and score some points. And three, you're just not really being efficient. It's not likely that every time the defense takes the field that they're going to go 3 and out. But these 14 play, 85-yard drives are killers to any team. You're putting nine minutes or taking 9 minutes off of the clock, and it's just too much. So, and when I say 9 minutes, I mean, it's about average for a 14 play drive. If you don't have any real big, big plays in there, it takes about 9 minutes to go 14 plays in the NFL if they're using the right amount of clock, and trying to kill the clock at the same time. So look, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the guys on this team that are just not performing as well as they should be. And, there's just a couple of surprises in here too. Let's start with Chase Lucas. He's got one penalty this season for 15 yards. It's coded as other, so I don't know exactly what the penalty is. I didn't really want to go down the rabbit hole today of trying to pick apart every single penalty, because the ones that I do have that are coded correctly, like holding, illegal contact, and unsportsmanlike conduct, those are the ones that really matter the most. So Chase Lucas has one penalty, 15 yards, coded as other, but he's also playing less than 5% of the snaps this season. Second player, Ifeatu Melifonwu, he has one penalty for 10 yards, and it's a holding penalty, so that's a big penalty. Again, it's somebody that's playing about 10% or less of snaps this season. And Tracy Walker, he is one penalty for 5 yards, and it's coded as other. So good. I mean, no illegal contact, no holding, no pass interference for Tracy Walker. He's actually been playing fairly decent since he's come back. Not perfect, but fairly decent. There's some other metrics and things where he's not doing so well that are really hurting this team, but we're not going to go into that today. So let's go to the rookie next, Brian Branch. This is where I would expect a lot more penalties and a lot more, stupid penalties like pass interference and, holding and things like that. And we're just not seeing it. Brian Branch is a very heady player. He plays very smart football, generally plays a pretty clean game. He has 4 penalties for 40 yards. So it's not the end of the world. He's played a lot of snaps this season. He's only missed a couple of games. But one holding penalty, one illegal contact, one unsportsmanlike conduct, and one coded as other. So outside of the unsportsmanlike conduct and the holding, there's really, a ticky-tack penalty for illegal contact. The other, I'm not real sure what that is. But the holding and the unsportsmanlike can hurt you. We expect this from a rookie. When you think about their transition into the NFL, they don't really have a whole lot of time in between college, combine, draft, rookie mini camp, OTAs, training camp, you name it. They have no time off. Rookies are exhausted after their first year in the NFL. They look forward to that offseason to, rest up, recuperate, and get back at it. And I expect Brian to make a huge jump in year 2. But from what we're seeing right now, he's a pretty disciplined player. Will Harris, the guy that everybody loves, he also has 4 penalties for 30 yards. 2 holding calls, 1 PI, 1 coded as other. Now, Will hasn't played a ton of snaps, but he is playing quite a few. The holding and the PI is what gets me. Those are the ones that, again, I'm going to beat it like it's a drum. Those are the ones that we just can't have. Those are the ones that are giving the offense another opportunity. Cam Sutton, our fearless leader, our number 1 cornerback. Brad Holmes' best target of the offseason. Cam Sutton has 4 penalties, 60 yards, 1 illegal contact, and 3 PIs. That's just terrible. Look, Cam's played pretty well. He's generally not been in the headlines this season, other than this last game where that first play that Christian Watson went for like 53 yards. That was probably the worst play we've seen out of Cam Sutton, and that was probably his worst game of the season for a few of them anyway. But definitely Cam Sutton. So I didn't expect Cam to have this many PIs or illegal contact 3/4 of the way through the season, but he is, and I'll maybe make sense as to why some of this stuff is happening here in just a moment. Lastly, we're going to talk about Jerry Jacobs, the guy that I called a liability from day one. He made me eat my words by week 3. He started grabbing some interceptions. He started playing really well, and then the wheels fell off. Jerry Jacobs has 8 penalties, 72 yards, 1 holding, 5 pass interference, 2 of them coded as other. I mean, this is just atrocious. Between all of these guys, and I didn't bring up CJ Gardner because he just didn't play enough, but he had 1 penalty. I think it was coded as other, unsportsmanlike. But 23 penalties between the DBs, 9 pass interference calls, 2 illegal contact, 5 holding calls, and those 3 amount to 16 penalties. 16 of the 56 defensive penalties, 23 total of the defensive 56 penalties. But those 16 have directly correlated to first downs. So just in the DBs, 16 out of 27 of the first downs that we've given up are coming from them. So where I think I'm going to make a little bit of sense with this, and I'm not trying to make excuses for the DBs, but Brad Holmes tried to turn what was a huge deficiency for us in the offseason into what should have been a really good group, a really solid group. On paper, one of the best groups in the NFL. Didn't happen because Mosley never made it really onto the field. He was on the field for like 2 snaps and then he was done. CJ Gardner-Johnson, same kind of thing. He was in for like a game and a half, 2 games, and then he was done. So the 2 biggest free agent acquisitions that we brought in have pretty much done nothing for us. So now we've reverted back to the same team we had last season, same players minus Brian Branch, who is the only bright spot, and the new guy in the block that are trying to hold down the defensive backfield again this season. And it was a huge liability with that group last season. So why would we expect anything to change? Well, I guess we all expected everything to change because Brad Holmes didn't target any major defensive acquisitions for the front 7. Yep, we brought Anzalone back. We got Jack Campbell in the draft. But who did we get for the defensive line? Who did we bring in that was going to be that next, power dominant force up front that was going to create havoc for the offenses? Nobody. And if you're allowing those quarterbacks to have 3 seconds or more, I'm sorry, there is no DB in this league that is going to stay sticky for much longer than 3 seconds. The goal is to get home before 2.5 seconds, and even that's kind of an eternity. It doesn't take much to do a 3-step drop and fire the ball. And if you're a quick, snappy offense and you do a lot of, quick slants or whatever pass play you want to dial up that's a quick one, you're going to get eaten alive. If you can't stay sticky for longer than 2.5 seconds, that you're going to be committing penalties by 3, or you're going to be giving up some big plays. And we've seen both. So penalties hurt, and they hurt for many reasons. And they also show our liabilities a lot more clear to us, which are our defensive front needs to get more push a lot quicker. They have to get to the quarterback. The defensive backs, look, if we're playing a lot of man and our guys can't handle it because of the front line or whatever, put them into a zone. Run a nickel, run a dime more often. Whatever you got to do to shut down the receivers and not let them have all this easy stuff over the middle. And conversely to that, you can't let them run by you for 53 yards on an opening play in the game. So I wanted to bring this up because it's just another layer that we're peeling back when we start to dissect this Detroit Lions defense. And it starts to paint a picture of who do we need to target in this 2024 draft? Who do we need to target this offseason for free agent acquisitions? No, I'm not, selling my team down the river. I'm not, throwing the towel in on the Detroit Lions. I'm just trying to find some things to talk about and share with everybody because we're different at Rock Down Detroit Lions. We like to talk about the stats and we like to go heavy into the analytics and really show you what I always say is the truth, the transparency, and the honesty about our team. You may not agree with all of my opinions, and that's okay. I definitely won't agree with all of yours, but I respect them. And until someone can show me something different from a stat or analytical standpoint, I'm going to stick with what I find. And right now, what I'm finding is that we are a highly undisciplined team, especially when I look at the offensive line as the next major issue for penalties. Currently, between our 4 starters that have been playing the last few weeks, 14 penalties on the offensive line. The offensive line is a huge strength of this team. But when they were getting whipped against the Packers, more penalties start to happen. The holding calls really start to get at you, and they really set an offense back. And so that doesn't put Goff in a very good situation. And I'm going to defend Goff for just a second, too. Our offensive line over the last few weeks has been getting beat up. It is still one of the best offensive lines in the league. But you can see without a Jonah Jackson in there and a really competent guard next to Taylor Decker starts to suffer. So this offensive line needs to get healthy and stay healthy, or we need to go out and find additional players to put in a backup that we know we're going to be confident in. We cannot be without Ragnow at center. Graham Glasgow is a phenomenal talent. He's done an excellent job this season, but he's not going to be able to go up against the likes of a Rashawn Gary or a Kenny Clark all day. That's just not his style anymore, not at his age in this league. So that's really all I wanted to share today. As far as Goff goes, I think it speaks volumes to the penalties that are setting us back and putting Goff into more of a susceptible position. When you are 3rd and 2 and you get a holding call and it's now 3rd and 12, the defense is dialing it up. You're in a shotgun. You've got to go 12 yards, at least 8 if you're going to go for it on 4th down. And that takes a little bit to open up. Our receivers have to be able to get free. And if they're not getting separation, Goff doesn't have a choice but to either hold it, throw it away, or run. He is not the greatest at running. He can run, but he's not an escape artist. This past game against the Packers, he never even had time to think, let alone make a decision on if he should run, if he should tuck it, or if he should throw it away. He was under that much pressure. So I'm not going to get down, on Goff either. I expect the guy to have a couple of bad games this season, but that's where I expect the defense to step up, and I expect the defense to bail him out, because more times than not, Goff is bailing this defense out. Our defensive statistics are still not the greatest. We are now back into the bottom of the league. I think we're somewhere ranked around, 23rd-ish as a total defense for 2023. We were just talking top 10. But the last 3 weeks, we've been finishing in the bottom of the league between 30 and 32 in just about every statistical metric that matters. So penalties hurt, and they hurt because they hurt everybody. They open up all sorts of susceptibilities, and it's got to stop. But what's not going to stop is Rock Down Detroit Lions. And if you guys are new and you haven't seen us yet, I would urge you to think about subscribing to our channel. Just check below. If you haven't subscribed, toggle that button over, come on in and join us for the rest of this season, man. This is a phenomenal season for the Detroit Lions. We're 8-3, and we still have a lot of work to do, and we're going to get it done. We're on our way to the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and that should feel great. I hope we get to clean up a few of these little ticky-tacky things that are going on, and this offense will be just fine. I'm still a little worried about the defense, but as long as we can keep Goff clean, I think that we'll do pretty well. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you later. Go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. Take care.
No respect.